Let's get one thing straight. This isn't the Adventure Time you remember. Finn and Jake's adventures were all about that wild thrill of what was over the next hill. But Fiona and Cake's story, it's a quieter, more painful look at what happens when the adventure seems to be over. This isn't just a spin-off, it's a deeply mature reflection on depression, identity, and the struggle to find magic in a soul-crushingly mundane world. So let's break down why Fionna and Cake is the adult Adventure Time you didn't even know you were waiting for. Intro. When Adventure Time first hits our screens, it was a beautiful, surreal explosion of joyful chaos. A show about a boy and his magic dog fighting monsters in a candy-colored apocalypse. But as the show went on, it started changing. The lore got richer, the characters got more complicated, and the themes started hitting on loss, war, and the real pains of growing up. The show was literally growing up with its audience. And now, with Fionna and Cake, that evolution is complete. Developed by Adam Muto, specifically for an older crowd, this isn't just more of the same. It feels like the culmination of everything Adventure Time was building towards. It takes these whimsical gender-swapped characters who started as fanfiction fantasy inside the Ice King's head and drops them into a reality that feels painfully real. The whole point of the show isn't about recapturing the magic of the past. It's about the very adult struggle of finding new meaning when you feel like the magic is gone for good. Part 1. The mundanity of adulthood. This series kicks off not in the magical land of Ooo, but in a world that looks a lot like ours, a world with no magic, no adventure, and honestly, not a lot of hope. Fionna Campbell isn't a celebrated hero. She's a woman in her late 20s, drowning in the realities of being a grown-up. She's stuck bouncing between dead-end jobs, living in a tiny apartment with her totally normal cat, Cake, and dreaming of a life that has, well, more. This is the first and maybe the most important way that the show signals that it's for adults. Finn's problems were always external. A lich to defeat, a princess to save. Problems are internal and painfully relatable to anyone who's ever felt stuck in a life they didn't ask for. Her enemy isn't just some monster of the week. It's apathy, disillusionment, and quiet desperation for a life that just isn't fulfilling. And the show has a brilliant lore reason for this magical drought. We find out that Fionna and Cake's world was an unauthorized universe created by the Wishmaster, which he hid inside the Ice King's mind. So when Simon Petrick was finally cured, his mind became normal, and Fionna's world was stripped of its magic. Her desperate longing for adventure is like a phantom limb, a memory of a magic she can't even prove was real. This perfectly grounds her existential crisis in the show's reality. She's not just bored, she's a magical person trapped in a non-magical world, which is a perfect metaphor for the adventurous part of yourself being slowly crushed by rent and responsibilities. Part 2. Simon's journey with depression. While Fionna is struggling to find an identity, Simon Petrikov is struggling to escape one. For anyone who watched the original series, seeing Simon cured from the Ice King's madness felt like a huge victory. But Fionna and Cake immediately ask a devastating question: what happens after the happy ending? And the answer isn't happiness. It's a deep, thoughtful look at depression, trauma, and grief. Simon is a man out of time, literally living as a museum exhibit of an era that's long gone. He's haunted by the things he did as the Ice King, and more than anything, by the loss of his love, Betty, who sacrificed herself to save him. The series shows his depression with a raw honesty you rarely see in animation. He's not just sad, he's empty. He feels disconnected from the world, even from the Fionna and Cake stories he used to write. This is where the show's maturity really hits. It gets that removing the source of the trauma, the crown, doesn't just magically heal the wounds. Simon is cured, but he's far from being healed. His journey turns into a desperate search to either become the Ice King again or find some way to erase his pain, which mirrors the real-world fight to recover from deep trauma and loss. The detail of chairs being the only thing on TV becomes this poignant signal of his mental state. He's emotionally stuck in the past, before the crown, unable to move on. Part 3. The multiverse as a metaphor. The multiverse in Fionna and Cake isn't just a gimmick for fun cameos, it's a way to explore the characters' biggest fears. Every universe they jump into acts like a dark mirror, showing them their own anxieties and regrets. They visit a world ruled by the Winter King, alternate Simon, who chose power over his sanity, and created a creepy, sterile world of cursed happiness. It's a terrifying warning of what Simon could become. They see a version of Farm World where Finn's dad, Martin, is a good man, but only because he never had a son, which is just a heartbreaking twist. This whole journey through different realities becomes a powerful metaphor for escapism. Fiona wants to escape her boring world for a magical one. Simon wants to escape his current pain by turning back into his old self. Each new universe is a tempting what-if scenario, but the show argues this is a dangerous fantasy. Real growth doesn't come from finding some perfect, ready-made reality. It comes from learning to accept and fix the world you're in, no matter how broken it feels. The show's antagonist, the Scarab, is an auditor who wants to erase Fionna and Cake's unauthorized universe. He's the embodiment of rigid order, trying to stamp out the messy, chaotic, and beautifully flawed reality of their lives, forcing them to fight for their rights to even exist. Part 4. How it redefines the Adventure Time universe. Maybe the most brilliant thing about Fionna and Cake is how it adds so much depth to the Adventure Time franchise without messing with what came before. It takes what was basically a one-off joke, the gender swap fanfic episodes, and gives them the incredible emotional weight by connecting them directly to Simon's own mind. Those stories weren't just a silly hobby, they were his subconscious trying to make sense of his world, which makes them becoming real, a deeply personal and meaningful event. The series also makes it clear that the events of Adventure Time had real, lasting consequences. We see a grown-up Finn, tattooed in memory of Jake, trying to give Simon advice on grief. He's processed his own loss and found a level of peace that Simon is still searching for. That one small moment says so much, showing us that our heroes kept living, growing, and hurting long after the original show's finale. It treats the audience like adults, knowing that we've grown up and faced our own losses too. By refusing to hit a reset button, Fionna and Cake matures the entire universe, proving this is a world that evolves with its characters and its fans. The show's critical success and its renewal for a second season proves that this grown-up approach was exactly what the fans were ready for. Fionna and Cake is the adult Adventure Time we needed because it gets one fundamental truth. Growing up means the adventure changes. It's not always about slaying dragons, it's about the quieter, harder battles we fight with ourselves. The fight against depression, the search for who we are in the world can feel draining, and the struggle to accept our past to find a new purpose. The show is a masterpiece, not because it tries to copy the magic of the original, but because it finds a new kind of magic. The magic in the messy, painful, and ultimately beautiful process of healing and figuring things out. It tells us that even if your world isn't magical and you're haunted by your past, there's still an adventure left. The adventure of finding out who you are now. But that's just my take. What do you think of Fionna and Cake? Did Fionna struggle with adulting hit home for you? And how powerful is Simon's journey with his depression? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And if you like this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button